Hello students, in this audio presentation I will discuss the broad questions, few of the broad questions from the chapter The Silk Road or Silk Road. It is actually chapter number 8 from Hornbill. The first question is a very important one and equally interesting one. Describe the author's experience at Darchen. What was the overall experience of Mick Middleton at Darchen? Very important question. It goes like this. Both the author and Shitan reached Darchen during the late night. They found a guest house to stay in. However, the author had serious sleeping problems at night as he was suffering from the effects of the high altitude as well as blocked nose. Now in the guest house it was very difficult for the author to sleep at night because of the higher altitude he was suffering from breathing problem and his nose was also blocked. The next day Shitan took him to the Darchen Medical College for getting him treated. So the next morning only, the following morning, it is written in your text the following morning. Actually the following morning means the next morning. So the next morning Shitan took him to the Darchen Medical College for his medical checkup or for his necessary medical treatment. The doctor there told them that it was a common problem in this area and gave some medicine for him. The doctor assured Mick Middleton that it's a common problem that is very common with everyone who goes on a trekking, climb or ascend on the higher altitude mountainous regions, and he even assured the author that he will be medically fit to undertake the pilgrimage or the Kora later. Then Shitan left him to return to Lhasa, as from here onwards the author would have to go on foot. So Shitan bade him goodbye, and now from this region the author had to travel alone, and most importantly the author had to travel or walk on foot. At Darchen he found people very relaxed and unhurried. Just like a smooth meandering river, the life of the people moved on very smoothly, very slowly, unhurried, at a unhurried pace, at a very unhurried pace, very smoothly. But he could not find pilgrims there, as he had reached there very early in the pilgrim season. Since he came during the off season, so he haven't found pilgrims, or he haven't found a lot of tourists, because if he would come at the right season time, then the entire place would have been filled up with people. But it was more or less deserted, or rather to say it was more or less isolated, and he was looking like a marooned man. He was looking very lonely. He was feeling very lonely also, because he came during the off season. It was not the right time, not the pilgrim season actually. Then all of a sudden he met Norbu, the ideal companion for him, who was a Tibetan working in Beijing Institute of Social Sciences, doing research in ethnic literature, as been told. He also had come for pilgrimage. So both of them together formed a group or a team, as written in your text. They form a group, or rather to say they form a team, and together they decided to climb Mount Kailash, as both were not devout pilgrims and had no desire to prostrate themselves all around the mountain. They were not devout pilgrims, and they don't have any desire to move round and round around the mountain passes or the mountain ranges. They simply, with the thirst for travel and the thrill for adventure, they want to travel, unlike the devout pilgrims. But Mick Middleton would have been happy if he would have found many pilgrims, but he came during the off season. But he became more than happy after he found Norbu, and Norbu became his ideal companion. Now I am moving on, dear students, to the next question, and the question is, how was his experience of Hor? A stark contrast to the accounts he had read of the earlier travelers. Because the accounts as been he read of the earlier travelers, he was trying to compare those accounts, natural beauty, those accounts with the present situation, and how far it is similar and how far it is different. Hor was a small town placed in the back on the main east-west highway that followed the old trade route. Look at the spelling, dear students. It is R-O-U-T, route, from Lhasa to Kashmir. The author found the place grim and miserable. The author, according to the author, the place was very grim and miserable. There was no vegetation whatsoever. There was no vegetation. The place was barren. Rather to say, the place was rugged. R-U-G-G-E-D. Or in other words, the place was barren. So I repeat, there was no vegetation whatsoever, just dust and rocks, liberally scattered with years of accumulated. Accumulated means something that is stored for ages. It is waste products that is stored for ages. Accumulated rubbish left behind by tourists. The town sat on the shore of Lake Mansarovar, Tibet's holiest stretch of water. Ancient Hindu and Buddhist scriptures tell us that Lake Mansarovar was the main source of 4 great Indian rivers. And what are those rivers? Remember, dear students, it is Indus, Ganges, Sutlej and the Brahmaputra. Actually, only the Sutlej flows from the lake, but the headwaters of the others all rise more or less nearby on the slopes of Mount Kailash. But the headwaters of the other rivers rise more or less near the slopes of Mount Kailash. And Mick Middleton's experience in Hor came as a stark contrast to accounts he had read of the earlier travelers. Earlier travelers means a Japanese traveler. His name is also quite complicated to remember. Akai Kawaguchi, who came in the year 1900. And he was so enthralled by the beauty, by the panoramic beauty of the place that he cried. Literally speaking, he cried. So I repeat, Akai Kawaguchi, a Japanese monk who had arrived there in the year 1900, was so moved by the sanctity, means the purity. Sanctity, sanctity means the purity. By the holiness, by the purity of the lake, that he burst into tears. Similarly, 2 years later, another famous traveler came to that place. The name of that traveler was Hedin. From Sweden he came. He was also moved by the majestic beauty or the panoramic landscape beauty of that place. And but not like Akai Kawaguchi. He haven't cried, but he was also very much impressed with that place. But now it is a stark contrast because this place is now filled with dust and rubble. Dirt and dust, we can say. However, now you could only find open air dumps of rubbish in the town. But now, so sadly, open rubbish, air dumps, rubbish, all these things are littered. So it is a contrast to what it was previously and what it turned out to be right now. Right now it is littered with dust and dirt and rubbish. But previously it was a place full of sanctity of holiness. And from the accounts of Hedin and Akai Kawaguchi, we get to know about it. But now this place is filled up with dirt and dust. Dear students, I am moving on to question number 3. This question is also very, very important. Justify the title Silk Road. Whether the title is appropriate or not, we have to justify it. The Silk Road is not a single highway, but a network of overland routes linking Europe and Asia. It is actually a way a way which is used from the ancient times as a trade and commerce line of action. We can say business transaction used to occur between Europe and Asia from the ancient times with the help of this Silk Route or Silk Road, making trade possible between those with a passion for silk, horses, and exotic fauna and flora. Now it is a particular route where business transaction used to happen from the ancient times. And what sort of business transaction? Silk, horses, exotic specimen of flora and fauna were transferred. Apart from that, spices were also transferred with the help of this Silk Road. Just about every transaction means every sort means type, every sort or every type of business transaction imaginable has occurred along its many trials over the centuries. It's a thread that links east and west. It is actually a connecting link. It is like a thread. The entire Silk Route is a connecting link, or we can say it is like a thread that acts as a connecting point between the Europe and Asia, or we can say in other words between the east and the west. A network of veins that pumped new live blood into mighty empires, a fable route trodden actually means traversed or traveled by innumerable adventurers through the ages. Innumerable means many. Yet underlying this romantic trial is one of the most extraordinary tracts of land on this planet, a vast region separating China from the Mediterranean world that rates as one of the least hospitable areas on earth, because it is very risky to travel, because it is very narrow. Even the track of land is very dangerous to traverse. So it is very risky and the least hospitable areas. It was the difficulty of crossing. I already told you this place is very difficult to travel. There is a risk that you might lose your life because of the impending natural calamities on the way. So let me continue. It was the difficulty of crossing such unforgiving territory that keeps east and west apart for so long, allowing them to develop in their own distinct ways. The author records the challenges and hardships he faced in the Silk Road regions as they are now. The reader finds it refreshing to traverse or travel such vast tracts of the natural world that remain largely unchanged from earlier days, and there is little changes. Even the experience that Mick Middleton faced, the readers can feel it. And throughout the ages, this tract of land remained mostly unchanged as it was previously in the ancient times. Dear students, I have completed up to question number 3. One more question is left that I will discuss in my next audio presentation. Thank you, students. Thank you all. And one more important thing, listen to this audio very carefully and clear your doubts if any. Thank you.